Was the FBI spying on Trump's campaign?
No, they were not. They were spying on a term I don't particularly like, but on what the Russians were doing, trying to understand, were the Russians infiltrating, trying to gain access, trying to gain leverage and influence.
So why doesn't he like
what they do?
So why doesn't he like that? He should be happy that.
Well, he should be.
Let's bring in Michelle Malkin. She's the host of Michelle Malkin Investigates on CRTV. Hey, Michelle.
Hi.
Hey, should the president be happy that there was a spy inside to make sure the Russians were doing the right thing?
Yeah, so according to Joy Behar, President Trump should be sending flowers and cookies to all of these folks who were essentially hijacking our intelligence and law enforcement agencies to turn those institutions into what I consider a massive voter disenfranchisement program. This is really what's at stake here, and why I believe our president is absolutely correct that Spygate could turn out to be the most scandalous thing that has happened in Washington in American history, because this was not about protecting the Trump campaign, as James Clapper noxiously tries to argue on TV and everywhere else. This was about upending a presidential candidate and trying to delegitimize him, which is what they've been doing ever since he took office. It is absolutely alarming. And where is the left? I mean, these are the people that balked at the idea of the FBI sending informants and infiltrating, for example, the anti-war movement. The ACLU was all over that. And now here they are trying to call spying something other than spying, looking the other way, and expecting that President Trump should be grateful for what happened?
No, I know. The president also referred to Mr. Clapper as a lying machine who now works at CNN. But remember, he famously, when Senator Wyden was asking him about the NSA program, he said, nope, we don't collect data on millions, hundreds of millions of Americans. He later said that the answer he gave was the least untruthful one he could give. But then he later said, well, it all depends on what your definition of collection is. And now he says he didn't tell a lie. He was confused about the programs. He's got a million stories.
Yeah, he does. He's a liar, he's a leaker, and he's a crapweasel. Textbook definition of it. And you know, I think most ordinary Americans who are not following every twist and turn in this odyssey are probably just stunned to know that incompetent clowns like this were running intelligence agencies.
So, Michelle,
and yes.
So, let me just play devil advocate for a second. So you find out you're concerned about the Russians trying to infiltrate our election. You're James Comey, you're James Clapper, you're John Brennan. And all of a sudden, you see Manafort's name go onto the roster for Trump. And then comes Carter Page, go to the roster for Trump. And then Papadopoulos comes out. So they have tangential type of links with the Russia or Ukraine in that area. So they decide to put someone in to try to hear what's going on and try to elicit the information that they bring to the campaign. Does that sound logical to you?
Well, congratulations, Brian, on doing your best to play devil's advocate there. But this is not what this was about. As I said the other day, the reason why this is so problematic and such a danger and a menace to our constitutional republic is because this was a conspiracy between the police state, the Fourth Estate, and this criminal deep state that had at its goal not to protect American safety and sovereignty, but to bring down a presidential candidate. This was specifically about targeting candidate Trump and now President Trump, and they have not yielded. They will not stop until they tear this country apart.
Well, obviously, if they wanted to, the three names, Brian, you gave, they undoubtedly all had their phones tapped. You know, the NSA can surveil that kind of thing. We don't know for sure that that has happened, but we know that a FISA warrant was obtained for Carter Page a number of times. And suddenly, Michelle, when the president over a year ago tweeted out, well, you know, I was wiretapped, now you're starting to see where that came from.
Yeah, and see, here's the difference between the Bush years and the Obama years. And remember that the left was up in high dudgeon, and the New York Times was leaking like a sieve, using all of these sources to bring down the Bush administration when it was using these kinds of programs for legitimate purposes, to try and protect us from terrorism. And what happened is it morphed into a program where our intel and law enforcement agencies were hijacked for partisan purposes. And the fact that you have Clapper on CNN and Brennan and all of these bilious blabbermouths, as I call them, it is conduct that is unbecoming of people who were once in charge of our intelligence agencies that were meant to protect American citizens.
Well, something about the investigation is hitting a nerve because Brennan's unhinged, Clapper seems desperate and more befuddled than usual, and we'll see who else. James Comey suddenly has disappeared. Michelle, thanks so much.
Thanks, Michelle.